It's time now for a look at what's been making headlines over the past 7 days here in A Week in France. France summoned the Russian ambassador Friday following a drone crash on an apartment building in NATO member Romania. In a statement, the foreign ministry called it an irresponsible escalation carried out in blatant violation of international law and said that it again shows that Russia's war of aggression poses a threat to the security of Europe and NATO. French lawmakers voted on Thursday to formally repeal slavery-era laws known as the Code Noir that defined the legal status of enslaved people as movable property and justified abuse and corporal punishment. Lawmakers stopped short, though, of including demands for reparations. The largely symbolic step comes amid debate about the persistence of racism and inequalities linked to colonialism in French society. Emerald Maxwell tells us more.
We are not descendants of slaves. We are descendants of human beings born free, then reduced to the worst, reduced to slavery.
It took the French Parliament another 178 years after the abolition of slavery in France. But on Thursday, it finally voted to repeal the Code Noir, or Black Code, a set of decrees published between 1685 and 1724 that considered enslaved people movable property, similar to furniture, livestock, or other goods. A master could buy them, sell them, mortgage them, leave them to his children, and punish them, in some cases by death.
This bill does not claim to erase history, nor to single-handedly heal the wounds of history. This bill aims to take a new step, to make a powerful act of remembrance, justice, and recognition.
The 254 parliamentarians present voted unanimously to explicitly overturn the Code Noir, which has been legally obsolete since slavery was abolished in France in 1848. The bill still needs to be debated by the upper house of Parliament. It would also require the government to report to Parliament on the consequences of colonial law and the lasting effects of slavery in France's overseas territories. It does not, though, include a demand for reparations.
Former slaves were freed without land, without capital, without reparations, while former owners, on the other hand, were compensated. Yes, compensated. As shocking as that may be, this historical truth must be recalled in this chamber.
Last week, France marked 25 years since it recognized the slave trade and slavery as crimes against humanity. The country was the third largest actor in the transatlantic slave trade among European nations, after Portugal and Britain.
France is asking prosecutors to investigate Israel's alleged violent mistreatment of activists from a flotilla to Gaza, potentially opening a route for criminal proceedings. The government had already announced an indefinite ban of Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir from French territory for what officials called his unspeakable behavior toward flotilla activists while they were in Israeli detention, after they attempted to breach Israel's naval blockade of Gaza. France is in the midst of a heat wave. While temperatures have eased in some departments, 11 remain under heat warnings. Today is expected to be the hottest in the capital before temperatures drop tomorrow. Solange Moujon has more.
Seeking out even the tiniest bit of shade, adapting as best one can, with an ice cream, a fan, or even plopping down on a fountain-filled esplanade. In Bordeaux, tourists and residents alike, they've been suffering through the heat dome that's over France. On Thursday, it beat records. In Angoulême, temperatures went up to 37.8 degrees Celsius, or just over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the hottest ever for a month of May in France.
We don't really have a choice but to live through it, but it's hard.
Back in the day, there were summers, springs, falls and winters. Now they're gone. 15 days ago, we were wearing sweaters and now we have to be in bathing suits. It's scary.
We're very careful to walk around in the shade, and we did less walking than we would normally do in the city on holidays.
Amidst criticism that the country is not prepared for such an early heat wave, Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu gathered ministers to work on France's response plans for heat waves, but noted that all decisions do not belong to his government. Closing schools, for example, is a local decision. In Paris, the mayor announced no school closures were scheduled, and the city's elected officials have been trying to adapt buildings and play areas for years.
We know that heat waves will become increasingly common, and so we must learn to work and live with them. And to do so, we need this kind of layout.
The heat dome over France is slowly moving east and slowly lifting in some areas. But several departments still remain under heat warnings. Temperatures nationwide are expected to drop by Sunday.
To discuss these sweltering temperatures, we can now bring in Fabio D'Andrea, a CNRS climatologist and head of the geosciences department of ENS. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. So we're talking at the moment about a heat dome. That's the culprit for this current hot weather. What is that, and can we expect more temperatures like this?
Well, a heat dome is how we call in the press now a phenomenon that is known by meteorologists for a long time, and it's a stationary anticyclone. It's an area of high pressure. When there is high pressure, the air actually moves down vertically and compresses on the surface. So when you compress air, if you remember your classes at middle school of thermodynamics, it becomes hotter. So that's why it's very hot in these cases. Heat domes or anticyclones have always existed. Now what happens is that they are hotter. Each of them is hotter. So sometimes they can become very, very hot, like today.
Now, Fabio, there's also been some talk that current temperatures are being affected by El Nino, and some meteorologists are even warning this year there could be a super El Nino effect. Can you tell us more about what that could mean?
Okay, El Nino is a phenomenon that happens every 5 to 7 years, and it heats the temperature of the sea in the Pacific Ocean. So you can wonder, so why are we interested in that? Actually, this very, very strong increase of temperature in the ocean has impacts in far away. For example, it can change the temperatures in North America or in East Africa, and it does have an impact also in Western Europe. We forecast for this year an El Nino, and we forecast it to be very strong. Now, the impact of it will particularly be felt in Canada, in the South America. It has a little impact also on France and in Western Europe, but that is not going to be the main player. What is important is that when there is El Nino, the mean temperature of the world is very high. So we can expect that besides the regional effect of heat waves, we will also have, on average, a very hot year next year, 2027.
Now, Fabio, when we're talking about temperatures outside the normal range for this time of year, how much are they outside the normal range, and how hot could it actually get?
Well, today is going to be the hottest day in Paris. We'll be at 34 or something. These temperatures for May are just never been seen before. It's a record. So, you know how unusual it is. It has never been seen before. These are temperatures that are hot even for summer, and they're even hotter, relatively speaking, for a season like May. This is very important because, you see, it's not the heat has an impact on many things. It has an impact on the economy, has an impact on health, and the impact depends on the activity of society. So in summer, in August especially, the economy slows down, people are on holiday, schools are closed. But if something like this happens in a period where the economy is at maximum activity and where there are schools and where people are working outside, the impact can be stronger. And also, you have to think of the impact on the agricultural production. I mean, the agricultural production has a yearly cycle, like there is a what you call the phenological cycle. So you can hit with a very strong temperature agriculture in a period where it's not used to it, where in August it will be less bad.
Now, Fabio, so we're talking certain about normal weather phenomenon that happens, plus there's global warming. So the two combined at this point in time, is there a way to halt it, or these hot summers going to be the new normal going forward?
Well, look, if we do everything very virtuously, so we stop emitting CO2 for good, climate is not going to go back to what it was 30 years ago. All we can do now is to stabilize it as it is. So whatever we do, we have to get used to this kind of summers, to this frequency of heat waves, and we have to adapt to these situations.
Now, Fabio, we were also talking about measures by the French government. They met this week to discuss a heat wave management plan. They're going to announce the details next month, and some have criticized that as being too late. Do you think the government could have done anything different?
Well, we are expecting this kind of events for a long time. So the information was there, and the choice not to act is due to, you know, the times and the magic of politics. But of course, more can be done. There are many things that can be done, especially in the cities, especially in the for adapting certain kind of work that are very much exposed, of adapting the buildings, adapting the urbanism. There are a number of things. So let's wait for the announcement of the government, and then we can talk about it. And we can expect, I hope, that it will be what we need, that there are really transformative adaptation and not just reaction to a time of crisis.
Fabio, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise. That's Fabio D'Andrea, a CNRS climatologist and the head of the Geosciences Department of ENS. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more news.